All right, so I didn't know what Daniel was going to say when I was writing what I was going to say. And I was thinking about it earlier this week, and I got a request from one of our Buffett scholars to write. She's going into her senior year in high school at Memorial. And I got a request to write a college letter of recommendation. And, you know, that's not my favorite thing to do, writing letters of recommendation. I don't know if any of you really love that, but I had such an amazing experience writing this one, and I thought, you know, this actually is something that I would like to share with you. So I'm actually going to read you this letter, and I have her permission. And here we go. So it's to whom it may concern. I'm writing to strongly recommend Janiyah Adams for admission to your program. Janiyah is both talented and committed to succeeding. She brings innate gifts and the drive to develop them in ways that benefit everyone around her. In my role as the Executive Director of the Lucier Community Education Center, I've known Janiyah since before she entered elementary school. She spent the after-school hours of pretty much every day of her elementary school years and all day throughout the summers at the center. And she always brought a light with her that was impossible to miss. As Janiyah entered high school, she was one of 2 youth named a Jane Burroughs Buffett Scholar. The Buffett Scholars Program identifies young people with the potential to go to college who have faced barriers and who have shown an interest in giving back to their communities. Janiyah was an obvious choice. Janiyah comes from a family dedicated to helping others. When she was young, her mother spent a number of years working here at the center, and when she wasn't working at the center, she was making sure that all the children in her apartment building got up in time for school, and then she was driving them to school. Janiyah got to see that sometimes the most powerful community service isn't with an organization or in a formal volunteer role, but in the way that you treat your neighbors. As a Buffett Scholar, Janiyah has only proven what a good choice she was. Janiyah applied for and was selected to be part of the new early college STEM Academy, a partnership between MMSD and Madison Area Technical College. And as her GPA shows, she's already thriving taking college-style classes. Her volunteer support for the Salvation Army, the Special Olympics, and the Alzheimer's Alliance show her commitment to her community. When COVID-19 hit, she stepped in to volunteer with Second Harvest, filling food boxes for families. As much as I'm writing to recommend Janiyah to you, I'm also writing to congratulate you on attracting a candidate of the quality, commitment, and potential of Janiyah Adams. I know that if you're fortunate enough to have her choose your institution as her home for higher education, your learning community will be the better for it. Sincerely, Paul Terranova, Executive Director. It was just so good. It's just so good thinking back on this young person you knew when she was so little, who you saw so much potential in, who all of us saw so much potential in, and who we said, you know, she's going places, and to see her closing in on one of her goals, you know, to see her weaving over and around and through all the barriers and snares and traps that get thrown at kids of color, and particularly Black kids. That's what we want for all the kids at the center. That's why we're stretching and pushing as hard as we are during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I say we, and I also have to add my voice to the others who give credit where credit is due, because the heaviest load is absolutely being carried by the frontline staff who are working day in and day out under stressful conditions, challenging conditions, supporting kids doing way too many hours of screen-based learning when our staff and the kids want to do nothing more than get back to the experiential kind of hands-on learning that we do best. As an organization, we're stretching and pushing too. And in my role, I'm going to be a little bit blunt about money as well. In order to do what we're doing right now, being able to serve up to 90 kids per day in safe, separate pods of 15 kids with 2 staff and all the protective equipment, we had to triple our frontline academic year staff. This academic year, we're going to go about $175,000 over budget to make it happen. That's over the academic year. I have to take a minute and say many of you in this room have been incredibly generous. The outpouring this year has been unbelievable. And because of that, and because of the Paycheck Protection Program, If we have a strong November and December, we maybe get through 2020 okay. 2021 looks rough. I just have to be honest. Right now, we're assuming that virtual schooling is going to go through the end of June. And if we continue what we're doing through summer, we're looking at a $220,000 deficit next year. Yeah, so we have, we had a finance committee meeting. We have an amazing board. We have people who are trying to figure out how do we make that work, right? Sat with the people who are the most kind of knowledgeable about money, and their answer wasn't, oh, well, we just can't do that. Their answer was, we have to do something. We cannot abandon kids and families. And so that is part of the conversation that we're having. And so, yes, if you are fortunate enough to find yourself in a position in these uncertain times where you can make a gift, a financial gift of support for the programs, we absolutely would appreciate that. And I know so many of you already have. If you are truly blessed to find yourself in a relatively stable and predictable spot where you can make or extend or increase a solid gift, if you remember, solid gifts are the multi-year pledges or monthly gifts, that would be deeply appreciated. And it would really mirror the kind of stability and commitment we're trying to create for families and children. This year has often felt like the world is on fire, both literally and figuratively. My experience at the center, I have to say, has been at least as much one of inspiration. The generosity of all of you in this room and so many other people has been truly, truly inspiring. Couple of highlights, all the people who signed over their COVID relief checks so that our staff could go to the front doors of 53 families and hand each of them a $1,200 check. Families that were struggling to make their car payment or make rent the next month. I mean, those conversations were unbelievable. I wasn't in any of them, but I heard those stories. I heard about the tears. I heard about the, pardon my French, the one who said, "You're effing kidding me." Like, just did not believe it, thought that it was a joke, and had to be convinced that this $1,200 check was real. I spent all summer, every Thursday, watching a group of high schoolers packing food boxes for families in the neighborhood. Seen an incredible bunch of volunteers. I'm looking at Kathleen Dare and Trudy Jenny, who are, I think we should be offering them benefits at this point in terms of the number of hours they spend at the center. Figuring out ways to make a food pantry work and trying to find ways to give people a little more choice, not, finding ways to get all kinds of, I mean, the amount of food that we're putting out is unbelievable. Volunteers finding ways to cook meals for kids, to call, as Betsy talked about, the connectors who are, took on the job of cold calling folks and saying, "Hey, I'm with the Lucier Center. I'm just checking in on you. How are you doing? Do you mind if I call you once a week and just see how things are going?" And you can, the variety and ways that people are trying to step up and figure out what they can do. And then the neighbors and church groups and businesses who've donated literally tens of thousands of pounds of food, diapers, laundry detergent, cleaning supplies through the food pantry and Support and Solidarity Network. I know some of the folks, Susan, who used to be a staff and is now a volunteer, has been doing incredible work with getting the word out when there's a family who needs something very specific. So during the hottest week we had, there was a senior who had no air conditioning and health conditions, and they put out the word, and we ended up with getting air conditioners for about 5 families, right? You had family moving into an apartment after having been homeless and having no furniture, or someone who needed sheets. I mean, just the variety of things, that everyday things that folks need that you just can't do in this kind of situation. And folks just have stepped up to make those things happen. It's really been truly inspiring. We always say that the Lucier Community Education Center doesn't do anything for the community. The community takes care of the community through the Lucier Center. And that's really never been truer than this year. We know it isn't over. We have a long ways to go. And I just want to thank you for everything that you have done and everything that you will do. It matters, and you're definitely needed here. Thank you.